tonight's guest, we got Jovanni Sanchez. I tell you what, I've been watching what he's doing. He sent me a message the other day, and or a few last week. He did like 26,000, and then it wasn't last week because last week he was in Mexico.
21, I think.
Well, he did 21, but the week prior to that he did 26.
Right.
Last week he was in Mexico, so he was in Mexico. He did 21 the week before that, and then 26,000. I mean, the guy's like putting up some numbers. Frank, I went through his sheet with him because I wanted to figure out what the if there was like something special with his leads. And he's like, the only thing that was consistent is that he bought 50 every week, like without fail since November. He's on a automatic subscription, but I was trying to figure out exactly what it is. I wanted to see if it was landing pages, was it the Facebook forums, was it because his leads had date of birth, were those the special ones that were selling, or was it the videos that were selling? And literally it was like a mix of everything. There was like nothing in common. The only commonality amongst everything between him and all the other people we were looking at is that he was very consistent and he was buying 50 leads each and every week, and he literally hasn't stopped since November. He had a couple of his guys, we were all on a call a few weeks ago when we were looking through his numbers, and they were asking like, why aren't they having a success? And I said, they buy like 20 a week. Like me, I could never do it on 20 leads a week. It just wouldn't work. I know I definitely, when I was in the field running and I was buying Facebook leads in the field, I needed a minimum of 50 a week. But I was usually closer to 75 or 100. But one thing that I looked at when I saw what he was doing was, I said, the only difference between him and most people was the quantity of leads and then the consistency. And that was really the only difference that I saw. Jamie, have you ever had a chance to talk to him?
Not yet.
He's one.
Well,
Not
maybe
yet.
through text, but not yet. Can you all give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay, cool. I don't know what happened to Mike, but it seems like, oh wait, here he comes.
There we go. Our office,
Yeah.
we can't keep the internet up for longer than 15 minutes. It's like we're traveling down 95 in an RV, like Heather. But
Heather's
I
got
lose-
better service than we do, Mike.
She definitely does. If I drop off here again, someone else just pick up and get
I
Giovanni
gotcha.
rolling.
Yeah.
Giovanni, you there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Good, man. So how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good, man. Well, if you could just come on, I know a lot of people on here don't know who you are. If you just kind of introduce yourself, where you came from, and what got you started with FFL and how long you've been here, what you've been doing, and we appreciate it, man. Looking forward to hearing.
Yeah, appreciate that. So I don't have any sales experience background, just like I assume most people don't in here as well. I was doing taxes and accounting in a small tax office here in Los Banos, California for almost like 2 years. But I went to high school with a buddy of mine, Jelon Griffith, top producer as well. And I would see him consistently at the gym and all the posts he would make about, insurance and life insurance sales and high commissions, high ticket, all that stuff. And I was like, I want to do this too. So one day I just walked up to him at the gym and I was like, at 5 a.m, and I was like, hey man, like if you show me how to top produce like you, I'll quit my job. Just like Wolf of Wall Street. It was kind of like that. So long story short, I got licensed like 2-3 weeks after that, passed my test first try, and then I quit my job and just went all in.
Wow. And when
Yeah.
was that? Like, how long you been? When did you start here?
That was in, I guess you could say like July last year. Mhm.
Okay, so you're almost at a year now at this point. So you're 11 months into this thing. When
Yeah.
you first started, what kind of leads were you buying? Age leads, or were you buying brand new leads from the beginning?
I was buying just strictly ILC bronze leads. I was like
Okay.
running, I started ripping like 10,000 in IP a month off of bronze leads. And then after that, Jelon was like, hey, dude, get into high intent. You're going to save a lot of time and you'll be able to close more deals consistently. So that's what I did. I was like, all right.
I think there's a lot to be said though about people that start out on those leads from the ILC. I think what that really does is teaches you the grind of this business. And I think if you learn that aspect of it, you can, no matter what you're dialing, you can always go back to that. So I think that's a great way. And I think everyone should start that way because people come in here and they think it's always easy. But when you go from dialing leads like that, and you have to really grind on that phone every day, it teaches you the work ethic that I think is necessary to be able to have success in this business. So I definitely have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah.
What got you, what leads have you been dialing pretty steady now for the last 6 months? Just, has it only been the vet leads?
Only vets. I tried the mortgage, but it just seemed a little bit more complex for me. Like I could close, I still managed to close a few, but I just have really good connection with these vets. I feel like that's like my main thing. So I've just been sticking with that for like the past 6, 7 months.
Got it. What did
Yeah.
you issue last month? What did you issue for the month of May?
For May, I paid 49,700. I was like $300 shy of 50,000. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times people buy leads, and I definitely hear it every day. You know, people, every week isn't great, every batch isn't great. What have you done in the past when you've hit a stumbling block, maybe didn't have a good week, or maybe you got a bad batch of leads? How were you able to get through that, not just throw your hands up in the air and say this doesn't work, or I need to go try different leads?
Yeah. Um, I feel like it's part of any business because I have that business mindset. I know not, that every business is going to fluctuate. It's not always going to be, going up all the time. So I
Yeah.
know it has to fluctuate eventually. So whatever weeks I'm doing good, I really try to, bring the most I can out of that week. So that's why I mean I'll submit over, like 25,000 in a week, 30,000. I'll really try to like take advantage of that momentum,
Yeah.
and I know that makes up for any week that I have, a $2,000 week or $5,000 week, which is pretty rare now. But whenever I do, I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I submitted 30 grand last week. Well, I should be fine this week, and I just keep going. You know.
Mike, I think that's a mistake a lot of agents make is they have a good week or they first half of the week they smoke it and then they let off the gas the second half of the week when in reality, like Jovanni just said, he's hot. Like when you're playing blackjack, you ever play blackjack, Jovanni?
No, I haven't.
Might not be old enough to get to casino.
Yeah, are you 21 yet?
No, I'm 23. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
23. Yeah,
okay.
Okay. He
yeah, I
just
just
don't
haven't
gamble.
had it. Yeah, I haven't.
So when you gamble and you're hot, they call it a heater. Huh. Shockingly enough. You double down. Like if I'm betting 100 a hand and I'm hitting, then I start betting 2, 3, 4, 500 a hand. Right? Most people, when it's hot, they start pulling their money back because they're afraid to lose. And
Mhm.
it sounds like you're in, which is why, first of all, there's no bad batches of leads. Is that a safe statement, Giovanni?
I think I can say, yeah, like I've always been a believer that it's not the lead's fault. It's like, my fault.
And
Well,
how long, because you're so new, how long does it take? Because I remember the days where I would, try to convince myself it was a bad batch of leads. How long does it take you to flip your mindset when you might have screwed something up or you start going down that rabbit hole of, oh, maybe this is a bad batch of leads or maybe these leads aren't so good. How do you flip your mindset to go back to, you know what, it's not the leads, it's me, or it's something I'm doing or saying, it's nothing else other than that.
Um, when I chose to like really commit to this business, because when I started, I was like one for like a month straight. I was like on and off. So I was like on and off because I was dialing these bronze leads. It wasn't working out so good. And then I was like on and off type of thing, like I'll log on at like 11 a.m. on Zoom, fucking hit the gym, and then like come back later, dial for like an hour. And I'm straight up in that way because I know a lot of agents are probably like that, right? They new agents, they think it's easy. They come in thinking it's like super easy, but once like really decided to commit like to the business, that's when like everything started changing because I was like, if I don't commit to it, I'm not gonna make no monies. And I didn't give myself like an out to like be able to quit or fail. I knew it wasn't gonna be easy, but I was like, you know what, I gotta just deal with whatever it is. So I even leveraged like credit card debt. I had a American Express because I've been building my credit over the years, and I freaking ran up like $11,000 on leads on that shit. And but I was like, you know what? I gotta fucking make it work. You know what I'm saying?
oh,
What what's your schedule now look like?
Now, I mean, it's pretty much like we come to the office. I'll get here like around 9, start dialing 10. I'm trying to get here earlier because the guys they try to drive me here earlier. But yeah, I'll get here like at 9 or 10 and then I'll just start dialing and then I'll leave like at 5 or 6.
And how many sales a day are you shooting for?
At least one. At least one. But
Okay.
yeah, at least one. My average premium though has been about like 2,500 annual premium per policy.
Annual average premium is 25. So one app is $2,500 for you.
Yeah, on average, yeah.
Dude, that's dope.
He's written some big policies, I'll tell you that.
Uh-huh.
What do you think it is that has you connecting with these vets? Is it the script that you're using, or is it something in your background that you think has you connecting with veterans?
I just I try to show confidence with these guys because a lot of these guys they know what they want and they want someone that knows what they're doing. So another thing that I've been doing as well is like I don't spend time chasing around clients that don't want it. That's something that at first I struggled with. I tried chasing them. I'm like, damn, I spent you know $1,500 on these leads and I had to chase this guy to make my sale. And then it eventually you sell it and then it cancels it charges back because the client canceled it. So I was like, that's not going to work out. So I spend more of my time just like dealing with clients that actually want it, leads that are somewhat interested, but they're just afraid of that commitment of buying the policy. So I try to spend more time on those people, but I think that's what it is. I just focus more time on people that actually want to buy it.
So let me ask you this, and this is big for everyone. Jamie just texted. He has plenty of leads, doesn't need to chase. Here's the truth of it. If you have
Yeah.
12 leads, you're going to chase everybody.
Mhm.
If you have 5,000 leads, dude, it's like next, next,
Exactly. Yeah.
next, next.
Yeah.
Dude, I knew one of my buddies in high school. He wasn't a real good looking dude, but he didn't care. And he asked every girl in high school out. Like and didn't find one at our high school, but then went to the next high school. And eventually by senior year, he had I mean, listen, he I don't know how he did what he did, but she was definitely way out of his league. But my dude just kept asking, and I'd be with him. He'd ask me like, "You want to go out with me?" They'd be like, "No," and I'd be like, "Oh shoot, that was rude. He's gonna be hurt." My guy was like, "All right, you're lost. Next," literally. And I feel like that's when you say, "I don't waste my time." It's because you have enough people to talk to. When did you start really buying? Mike or Jamie, how many leads does he buy? When did you start buying the amount of leads that you just don't care if someone says something stupid, you move on to the next?
I mean, it's probably been like I saw a massive shift because I listen to podcasts, right? So
Right?
like I listen to podcasts, YouTube videos. I'll be at the gym and I'll be listening to that, right? So um there's this guy named Brian Tracy. I'm sure you heard of him. Brian
He
Tracy.
changed my life, by the way, in this business. The
Same.
psychology of selling changed
The-
my life.
Once I heard that podcast, and everybody here at the office, they'll like ask me or whatever, and I'll be like, "Hey, Brian Tracy, Psychology of Selling." Main things I took away from him was like, don't waste your time trying to chase, the next sale. Focus on selling to people that want it, and it's a numbers game. The more volume you have of leads, like you're eventually going to come up to those people that are going to want it, and then just come from a place of service. Like don't try to like shove the policy down their throat. It's like they want it or not. And so that's kind of like how I go about it. And then I feel like the lead kind of picks up on that I'm not like begging for the sale. So it kind of takes the sales pressure off. But yeah, it was probably like 3-4 months ago when I started noticing the big difference after I heard that book.
For sure.
Frank,
Okay.
you know what was interesting though, when Jovanni and I were going through his numbers for the last 2 weeks, we were looking, and it was interesting because a bunch of sales, right, Jovanni, we were looking, and it wasn't from this batch of leads. They were like from a month ago. And I said, you know what? I said, if you didn't have those leads in that inventory from a month ago, you wouldn't have put up the kind of numbers that you put up. The week he did 25,000, 3 of the leads were from 30 days ago. And then 21,000, like 2 of the leads were from 30 days ago. But the one thing he's done is, and most people haven't, is it was consistent. It was 50 every week, no matter what. And I said, can you imagine if you would have stopped and not had that, you wouldn't have gone back and had those big weeks. And when he remember did 25,000, he did like one of them was like 500 a month, one was 400. I mean, there were big premiums, but you wouldn't
Yeah.
have had that if you wouldn't have had that kind of inventory. So that's one thing that I think he's probably doing different than most people.
Yeah.
Quantity
And
and
then
efficiency.
one of my biggest policies I ever sold, 1,300 a month, Americo, immediate draft. It was from it was an immediate draft. It was from a lead from, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. So like, and the guy was like, hey, like just follow up with me next week. Boom. All right, call me on Wednesday. We'll do the app on Wednesday. Okay. All right, boom. And like with those type of people, I don't like putting, especially with them, like because like you want to just not show any sales pressure. You just want to just be chill and obviously connect with the client. One thing I'm really big on is building the rapport with the lead. Like I asked them about their kids. I asked them about their military status. I asked them about their occupation, what they did, how they enjoy it. Did they travel? Like all this stuff that a normal agent wouldn't ask about because they're just trying to make the sale. But me, like, I don't care if it takes me 45 minutes to an hour. I'll build a better relationship, and the chances of that policy sticking are going to be way higher than, a sale that took 15, 20 minutes.
Well, it actually kind of sounds like you just kind of care about them.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, because you
Yeah.
can't fake being interested in what somebody has to say. So,
Yeah.
what do your mom and dad do?
My dad does construction.
Okay.
He did construction. He's retired now. And then my mom, she's a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. Where do you get
Yeah.
your outgoingness and your ability to speak the way you speak? I mean, I did, and I don't know your dad, so I'm not judging. Or I did construction, and I if I'd have stayed in that field, it would have been something to die for. My kids would probably be sailors, and I definitely would not be with Jamie because the language and how those folks talk, was at least where I live was not desirable in any other profession, if that makes sense. So where do you
Yeah.
think you got that from?
Um, Most likely, I mean, I was raised that way. I mean, just to be a, kind person and just treat everybody the same and be genuine. And that's how I've always been. Sometimes people ask me like, "Hey, bro, like, why are you so jolly?" No lie, like some people will ask me that, like, "Hey, why are you so jolly? Like, why are you so like friendly?" I'm like, bro, like no one's gonna buy from an angry man that's like not trying to
Oh
do
my
his, you know
gosh.
what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like you gotta be. People sense that when you're on the phone, especially they're not seeing your face, they're not seeing, you're not physically there. They only hear the tonality of your voice. So I mean, it's your job to make sure that you transmit that to your leads. You know what I'm saying? So
So how did you determine or discern the guy that the $1,300 Americo app that was instant draft when he said keep following up, call me on Wednesday? How did you discern if that was a guy that was like, next, or I'm gonna actually call him back? Is there did he leave you any key hints, or did you just have a feeling?
because of the relationship I built with him on the phone when he didn't buy. I spent an hour, 20 minutes with this guy, and I was building the rapport. He was telling me that he was a broker back in his day, and
Okay.
he was into finance, and he did all these things. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, yeah, man, I'm into finance too. Like, I do all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, man. Like, so we just built like a really good relationship. And I just felt like the appointment was really solid. And
Okay.
when I would call him back, he would answer and he'd be like, "Hey, Jovanni, how's it going? How's your day going? This and that, blah, blah, blah." Like he knew my name. He knew what I was calling about. He's like, "All right, perfect. Yeah, call me on Wednesday." So I mean, I think it was just a relationship I built with him, based off of the very first call that I spent time with him and just really showed him all the options that were available. And we got him like a 20-year term. And he's like, I think he's like 70, 72, which is really hard to get a 20-year term. So
For sure.
especially at that age. So
Yeah.
he qualified and everything, and it was perfect. Yeah.
Frank, how much of this, we talk about it all the time. Yes, he buys a bunch of leads, buys 50, but it's his attitude and his mindset, which is everything, right?
100%.
I mean, when
And you
he
can
calls,
almost tell.
he's called me about problems in the past. It's not really a problem. He calls and he's speaking just like he is now, and I answer his phone every time because I want to help him. But then there's some people, the phone goes off and I look and I'm like, oh my God, not them again. And I'm like dreading to answer the phone. I'm like, this is going to be terrible. And sometimes I just won't answer because I can't stand. You can feel that energy from people come through, but he calls and he's like smiling when there's a problem. He's like, hey man, I'm just letting you know. And I'm like, hey, let's get it fixed, you know. But some people I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, they literally want to jump off a bridge before when they're calling me. It's just terrible. But someone like him, man, he's always in a good mood. And I think people can definitely feel that when you're talking to him. So that definitely has a lot to do with it. Did you see that Sean recently put out a podcast? You see that he was talking about people, their tone of voice or the way they speak. I mean, he's 100% correct. It's the way it is.
Yeah, no doubt. Are you up in the Connecticut office, Jovanni?
No, I'm actually here in California in the high caliber office. We're under diligence as well.
Okay.
Diligence. Yeah.
With Caitlin.
And how many different states do you have licenses in?
Just 5. I have
Just 5.
yeah, California, Texas, Ohio, Virginia, and South Carolina.
What's your goal for 2025?
To hit Hall of Fame.
Oh, well, that ain't going to be a problem. Are you building?
I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm like barely at that. I was at that point at first where I was like, I don't want to recruit until I know like I'm making money, you know? So it's like, but I'm at that point now where I'm like, okay, I got to do some systems and see what's going to help me, recruit at a higher level.
Okay. So if I'm brand new and I'm coming to work with you, how are you getting me moving?
First thing what I would do is I would probably put you on age leads, tell you like, hey, just get on age leads, and dial the heck out of them. And that would be like my test on seeing if you're going to be actually putting in the work,
Okay. And then
Yeah.
if I do, and so what kind of expectations are you setting for me? If I go, all right, Jovanni, I'll buy age leads. What can I expect out of these? What are you telling me?
Well, it just depends on how hard you work them. But if you work hard and, you dial them, you're going to make a return on them. You have to. It's a numbers game. That's what I would just tell you. But I mean, I'm not going to tell you like, hey, you buy this much amount, you're going to make, 10x. I don't set
Mhm.
those expectations. I say, hey, this is going to work only if you do, and you have to believe in the business. And if you believe in the business, it's going to reward you, and eventually you'll get better as time passes. And I'll be here as kind of like a mentor to you, tell you, hey, you could do this, you could say this, you could say this, and stuff like that. You know.
I gotcha. That makes sense. And then
Yeah.
when do you shift me to buying newer leads? Is that just a feeling, or do you give me some sort of clear cut goal?
So actually, something I noticed, and I was actually reading about this. The sooner you can have an agent's first sale, it just like it pumps them up, motivates them. Like I was reading something about that, and I feel like it's true because when I got my first sale, that's what motivated me to keep going. Once I saw that $400 um, commission statement from Mutual of Omaha, which eventually charged back, but I mean, but you know, once I saw that, I was like, oh, dude, I could just replicate this if I just like lock in and work hard. And I just made $400 in a 30-minute call. So
Yeah,
I
no
was
doubt.
like, yeah, I was like, if I just have a bunch of leads that want to buy this, I could make freaking 400 grand in a year, you know? So it's like that.
100%.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it. So, yeah.
Can you go through, Mike? You haven't, I mean, I can ask him questions for 44 hours if you want me to.
No, I know
Can
what
you
you're going to ask them, and it's what everyone always wants. They think it's always some magical script, so we definitely want to go
Yep.
through that. Let's
We,
hear what you say when you call these leads, so people know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, like the script.
Yep,
yeah,
All right. Who am I bringing up?
I'll do it.
I'll answer.
Oh,
Uh,
never mind. Go ahead, Mike.
Uh,
uh, ring ring.
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is Giovanni. Just giving you a call about the veterans life insurance. How you doing today?
great.
Okay, perfect. Now, when you filled this out, Mike, were you just looking to cover your final funeral expenses or to leave some money behind as well?
leave some money behind.
Perfect, perfect. To leave some money behind, like for the kids, you mean,
Yes, and my wife.
and your wife? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so first and foremost, I am obligated by the state of California just to give you my license number. It's just so you know you're talking with someone that's licensed by the state to help you out here today. So let me know when you have a pen and paper in front of you.
Okay.
And then sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to get it." I'll be like, "Oh, no worries, take your time." And then they'll rush to go get it.
So you
All
make
right.
them, write that down.
Yeah, yeah. So I make them write that down, and then boom, I give them my license number, my full name, my license number. After that, I'll be like, okay, perfect. So who would be the main beneficiary for this policy?
My wife.
Okay, perfect. All right. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to ask you a couple medical questions just to determine your eligibility and what you qualify for, and then we'll go over the numbers for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, perfect. Do you smoke tobacco?
Nope.
I'm just straight into health questions right there. So it's like it's a quick process, but like with me, I try to build a little bit of rapport, obviously, with the client
Yep.
if they mention things. But that's pretty much how I'll go into health questions right there.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then what do you do after you ask all that and you figure out what you're how do you know what to offer them? What
Yeah,
amounts and what premium to offer them?
yeah. So I'll ask them their health questions. So based off of whatever they tell me that's going on with their health, I'll figure out what they're even eligible for, right? And then I'll look at the coverage amount, how much they requested to see if I can kind of like match that in some way. That way it kind of gets them in that mindset that that's what they requested. And I'll just be like, okay, perfect. So go ahead and write down 10, 15, 20,000. If they were just looking for the final expenses, that's what I'll show them. If they're looking to leave some money behind, then I'll show them a little bit of higher numbers. Like I'm not afraid to show them higher numbers. That's the thing with me. Like some people are afraid to like show them that because they're like, oh, it's 400 a month or it's like 300 a month. And I'm like, I'm going to show you pretty much almost what you requested if possible, if I could do that. And then if you're going to take it, good. And if not, we could decrease the coverage and see if that works.
When that guy said yes to $1,300 a month, were you shocked?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. I was like, it's because I was showing him the numbers and I was like, okay, he wanted to cover like mortgage payments that he had for like a couple of his real estate properties. So I was like, okay, so this much is this much. And then he was like, okay. All right. So he didn't sound like he was shocked. He was like, okay, like these are just average numbers to him. They sounded like average numbers. So I was like, okay, perfect. So it's this much. And then I was like, okay, based out of these three options, which one makes more sense to you to see if you're even qualified for it? And then he was like, oh, this one. And I was like, all right. He's like, but I'm going to do my research on this company. So send me an illustration. So
Ah,
I sent him an illustration and then he looked at it. And then following Wednesday, I called him up and we went into the app. Then once we went into the app banking, he's like, all right, Jovanni, let me do a little bit more research. Call me on Friday and we'll finalize this. Called him up on Friday. He was getting his nails done. I don't know how he's getting his nails done. He gave me his routing and account number. He had it all memorized. He was like, all right, Jovanni, here's my account number.
Wow.
Just took it. Yeah, it's
but you
crazy.
know,
It was one of
I
the
think,
easiest sales I've ever had. One of the easiest sales, I'll be honest with you.
well, because you didn't pressure, a lot of folks would be pushing, and sometimes you just have to know when it's time to push and when it's not time to push. And you being so new, no disrespect, like that's pretty impressive that you picked up on that because hell, my first year I'd probably be like, you give me this bank account or I'm done with you. I ain't got time for this mess. You must not love your wife. You don't care about her. She gonna marry somebody else because you don't want to give me your bank account and get this insurance. So I think that's you're wise beyond your years. But
Yeah.
it's funny, Mike. Do you notice when he was talking, he's like about the policy you're going to get today. He's like pointing is and dude,
Yeah.
So that's
it's
Here's
something
a
I
something.
do on purpose. I
I
actually do
know.
that on purpose. So like I get them in the mindset of that they're gonna buy today. So like throughout the whole call, I'm mentioning things like, okay, so who's gonna be the beneficiary for this policy? And then,
Mhm.
okay, perfect. And once we get that approval, so right before we go into the app, I'll be like, okay, perfect. So what we're gonna do is they're gonna do a medical prescription check. And once we do that, they're gonna determine if you're eligible. And after that, we can determine the day you want to start it on, okay? And if they say, okay, I'm in the app and like, 80% of the time it goes through.
He's like assuming it the whole time. And I mean, why wouldn't he? They applied for it.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
just calling them. He's not asking if they want it. He's just saying, all right, he's speaking to them as if, they're getting it done right there. It's awesome.
Well, we
Yeah.
already know they want it. They
Yeah.
asked for it. It's just a matter of figuring out what they need
Well,
and what they can
Mhm.
afford. And I think he has that mindset, obviously, and the numbers show it. And if folks could, like, if we could matrix Giovanni's head and everybody could plug into that, it'd be a wrap. I mean, I'm not. It's crazy, but it's literally all mindset. And the small things, you believe in this so much. The policy today, you're just speaking it into existence, and it's not complicated. I mean, if it were complicated, buddy, like, I'm fired up for you, but no, you wouldn't be doing this if it was that complicated, because it would take years and years and years to hone in your craft so well that you could do 22 grand and 26 grand in 2 weeks. You'd have
Yeah.
to be like a super professional. Nope, you just work really hard, care about people, you believe in the products, you believe in yourself. Is that a safe statement?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Jamie, do you have any questions? You ask really all the time, ask good questions.
Oh, are you like putting me on the spot?
No, well, listen, men and women think differently, so it's like you always ask the questions that we should ask, but we don't think about.
Well, I mean, I didn't really have any questions, but I do want to kind of point out a few things. One, you guys just said it, you're very assumptive. Two, it's really hard to be negative or angry, and it like I have here, I wrote down happy and positive equals money, angry and negative equals broke. And I think there's too many people who are trying to figure out why this isn't working because they're walking around so negative all the time. It's uh, like, why don't we just flip it? Like, there hasn't been a negative thing that has come out of his mouth. He hasn't spoken about anything that's negative. He has like nothing. And so if we just worked on having a positive mental attitude every day, every call, every no, every time, and just live with this like happiness, a happy spirit, you would probably see positive bank account statements instead of negative equals negative bank account. I mean, it's a direct correlation, and it's such a fresh breath of air to see that from somebody who's still young in the business. I know you've been here for almost a year, but really you are still young in the business. I mean, we see people who've been here even, the same amount of time as you, and it's just like they just like they're wondering why they can't get it together, and it's like you are, because everything that, like, all of your thoughts are negative, whereas all Giovanni's thoughts are positive. He knows it's going to work out. He knows he's going to help and serve families. He knows that he's going to see his bank account flourish. And so I just think that piece of it, for me, was awesome. So yeah.
For sure. This is a good question. How do you determine where you're going is, or steps for, like, if it's to know if it's an IUL, a final expense, or a mortgage protection, or an annuity? Because they're vet leads. They don't say vet final expense, vet mortgage, vet IUL. It's just a vet lead. What types of questions you ask to determine what you should be writing or what they need help with?
Um, so throughout the call, like I'll ask them like I don't know if you remember in the beginning, I'll be like, okay, so were you looking to just cover your final funeral expenses or to leave some money behind? And then I'll kind of know what route they're looking for. So if they say I want to leave some money behind, I think of that as like, okay, they're looking for something that's a little bit more in coverage. And then if
Okay.
they're just looking for the final funeral expenses, they're looking for something that's obviously, 10, 15, 20,000. But once I ask the health questions and I determine that they're real healthy, okay, I'll show them an IUL. If they're looking for something more permanent, if they say, oh, you know what, I want to save more money, I don't care if it's a term policy, if it expires, I'll show them a term, especially if they're healthy. Um, but if they want something that's kind of like more permanent, obviously an IUL, and based off their health, if they're, pretty unhealthy or whatever, well, I'll just not even tell them anything about the IUL or the term. I'll just go straight into a whole life policy and I'll quote them depending on their health condition. Like if they have like a couple health conditions, I'll just quote them Select 2 Americo. And that way I quote them the Select 2 in case they do qualify for the preferred. Now I have good news for them. Hey, You
That's a
qualify
good
for the
point.
preferred rates, and it looks like you qualify for, the best rates out there in the market. So this is how much it's going to be. Did you want this to start immediately so you're covered? And then they'll be like, yeah, that's good news. I'm saving $100 a month, which they had already agreed for the select two price. So it's like,
That's the way to do
it's,
it. Too many people,
yeah,
they quote the one, number one on everyone. And then they don't get approved for it. Then they get upset and go, oh my God, what am I going to do?
yeah.
But you do it the right way. You quote worst case scenario and then give the good news,
Yeah,
which is
unless they
awesome.
tell me they're like super healthy, like they just have high blood pressure. If they say
Yeah,
something like that, I'll just be like, okay, select one. But most cases, I'll quote a little bit above, and then in case it does go that price and they get approved for the preferred, I'll be like, okay, so we have two options. We either keep the preferred price or we raise the coverage to match what you initially agreed on,
that's
which will
awesome.
get me a better premium as well. So I mean, that's yeah.
He literally laughed when he was telling us that his first policy he wrote charged back. He just took it in stride and smiled and kept on moving. This is awesome,
Yeah,
man.
yes,
I
sir.
mean, so much of this has to do with mindset. I think it's probably way more because you could have all the leads you want. And if you have a bad mindset, it's not going to work. You could have old leads or a few leads, but if you got the best mindset in the world, it will work. So,
Well,
yeah,
you
to
know
me,
how we know
mindset's
that's
over
true,
everything.
Mike?
What's that?
Because people write a shit ton of business off of age leads.
Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous the amount that's being written.
Not Giovanni's age leads, but other people's age leads.
He's
And,
calling himself.
yeah, I'm sure he's calling them too. So yeah, it's 100%. Can't be. I think what Jamie was trying to say is you can't be happy and negative at the same time. That's a fact. So, um, if you had to give these folks three things that could change their world, and it's not. I mean, we ask these questions, Giovanni. It's what's really crazy is we ask these questions to everybody, and the answers are always the same. But the goal is hopefully somebody's looking at you that's maybe close to your age and going, you know what? I didn't believe I didn't believe last week's speaker, but I believe Giovanni because he reminds me of me. So we're just hoping that at some point it clicks with everybody because it's too good of an opportunity for folks not to win. And when I see folks like you, young and don't did you go to college?
I went for 6 months for accounting, but I was like, this is boring. I'm out of here.
Dude, I like you even more. I went for 6 months. I played spades in the cafeteria and I sold weed.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, they had this class. It was called Beatles Mania, and I was like,
Beatles, man.
I'm taking that class. So I did all my work, and I called selling weed work in 1 hour and one day a week. It was beautiful. So, but yeah, it's 6 months. So you didn't go to college. It's not, I mean, you're really smart. You're good looking. You got a great smile. You speak well. But I mean, nothing. You're not special, is what I'm trying to say. And your mom thinks you're special. We love you, but you're not. Just can you tell these guys and girls on here like what they need to do what you do production wise?
Lead flow. I wrote them down right here once you said three things. Lead flow. These are the main three things I thought of first. So lead flow, mindset, and consistency. That's like the main three right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you dive into them a little? I mean, and Mike, we don't need to go to six. Like he's given us so much, but dive into each one of those a little bit. Lead flow, what you think people should do, mindset, how they can. I've heard you say multiple times. You read this, you were reading, you were listening to a podcast, super huge. And then you said activity, lead flow, mindset, activity,
Consistency. Yeah.
consistency. Okay,
And
activity.
you know, one thing he did, he listened to Breon's podcast. I don't know if everyone heard that. It was put out 2 weeks ago, Breon and Montserrat. And he goes, hey man, how many leads does that guy buy? I said, he's at 60 to 90 a week. And Jovanni was like, all right, I need to buy more leads than to do his numbers, which is right. Because immediately he says, well, Breon's doing, putting up these kind of numbers. He's at 300,000 year to date. He goes, I can do the same. But he didn't say anything else other than how many leads is he buying? Give him the number. He goes, all right, I just got to buy more leads. So it makes it easy.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's what I would say. I mean, lead flow. I mean, if you're buying, this is something I was telling Mike earlier too. If you're buying, let's just say you're getting 50 leads, veteran leads, right? realistically, how many of those 50 veteran leads are going to answer? All right, let's just say let's go conservative. Let's just say 40 of them answer, which is I doubt it, but okay, let's just say 40. 40 answer. How many are going to say not interested? I don't want this no more. I found an alternative. Let's just say 10 off the gate right there. Okay. 30. You're left with 30 leads. Out of those 30, how many are you going to go a full presentation with? And after you show them numbers, you're going to go into an app. That's where it's really going to go down. Another 15. 15. You're left with another like 10, 15. And then out of those 10, 15, how many are you realistically going to close? That's where it's at. So that's how I look at it. You know, like the more leads you have, the more chances you are of having more closes. So just think of it like that. You could go age leads, right? It's just going to be harder to get a hold of them. But yes, I would definitely say lead flow, consistent lead flow every single week. Give yourself a lead spend of, you know, $400, $500 a week and say, I'm going to commit to the next month or 2 months of this much of lead spend, and I'm going to make it work no matter what. If I sell or not, I'm going to do it. And you commit to it, and you're going to start seeing results eventually because you're having a steady lead flow of new people coming in. You're talking to new people. And as long as you're presenting, you're going to keep getting better and better and better, and you're going to start closing.
When you
All
went on
right.
vacation last week, you didn't stop buying leads.
No, I didn't. Because I knew I was going to come back, and I was like, I need new batches. I have to keep going. And that's and that's happened multiple times because not a lot of people know this, but I'm actually still pretty much part-time because I do music and stuff. So like I'm not really here like all the hours in the day because I do music as a career too. So like
What do you do?
I do Mexican music. I do Mexican music and I drop music on like Spotify, Apple Music, and like I'm signed to a record label and all this stuff.
Shut the front
Um
door.
You want to play
yeah.
some music for everyone on here?
Are you like a DJ? You mix it, you drop, you
No,
make
he's a
beats, or
singer.
you sing, or
He's
what
a
do you do?
singer.
No, I sing. I sing.
He's
Yeah,
a singer.
I was signed to Universal Music on a deal I had with them. So it's like a real thing for me. It's like a career and everything. So it's like um that's like my main dream and everything. So I make it work part-time, you know, as much as I can. So
Part
that's
time.
why I try my best. You know, when I'm in the office, I try to, you know, take advantage of the time that I'm there. So that's why I know I have to have a consistent lead flow. I never stop. I'll leave for like a whole week. The guys know this here at the office. I'll be gone for like a week. I'll show up the next week, fresh batch of leads, and then, you know, I'll rip, you know, 10, 15,000.
That's why
So
he's so confident
yeah,
because
I
he's
mean,
He's a
used to
rock
getting up
star.
in front of people and singing. That's gotta have you gotta have some cojones for that.
yeah. But I mean, I respects to my upline too. He really taught me good. Dude, this dude's a beast too. Jalon Griffith. So if he's in there, shout out to him too. But yeah, guys, lead flow, mindset, you know, watch those podcasts, go to the gym, surround yourself by people that are doing the same things that you are, that are interested in what you are. You know, if you want to grow a business, surround yourself by people doing the same thing. I'm surrounded by top one producers here in the office. Like I see these guys closing a $10,000 deal. I'm like, now I got to do the same. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm competitive too in that way. I'm humble, but I'm competitive. You know, so like, yeah.
I like it.
Sometimes they'll be like, Jay, I'm gonna out submit you. I'm like, all right. I'm like, you know, I just be quiet and then, you know, just do my thing. But
Dude, I love it. All right.
Makes it
Like
real easy.
anything else?
mindset's
The-
it's a big thing. And then, yeah, consistency. Just stay consistent every single week. Do the same thing, and you'll make it work somehow.
Buy
Even when
leads.
you don't want to. Like, what's your trick when you don't want to go to work? Like, you're young and you don't have a boss. So, like, that's not easy shit. There's 40-year-olds that aren't good without having a boss and having to report somewhere. So, the days you don't want to get up and go into the office and dial, what do you say to yourself?
I have a why. I think that's super big on anybody. Like you have to have a motivation. Like, why do you want to do this? You know, like what are you doing it for? Me, I have my parents. My parents always struggled financially, and I was sleeping in a garage for 6 months. Like it was pretty bad. and this was like my freshman year. So like I remember those times, and I'm like, I cannot give up because I'm supposed to help them the most I can. I'm the youngest son they have, so I'm like, I got to take care of them. So
Good for you, man.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
You're a pretty impressive young man. Proud of you.
I would say so, man.
Incredible.
appreciate it, man. Thank you, thank you.
All right, Mike,
Uh,
what you got?
No, Jovanni, man, I appreciate you being on. I will call you after this call. Give me like 10 minutes. I got to help Frank with something. I'll give you a shout and I'll fix that issue for you.
All right, sounds good, man. Thank you,
All right,
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Jovanni.
All right.
All right.
We'll see everyone next week. What's the next call tomorrow? Jesse Stam, and then on Wednesday, we've got Hamadi, and then Thursday, the SRS call. So we'll see everyone around. Bye. See you next week.